technical grappling abilities. But it just seemed, I felt watching her like, okay, you've fallen in love with becoming the brawler, the Mike Tyson, the dominator, and that's not what got you to where you are. And I don't think, more importantly, I don't think that is the right, any, successful strategy against the opponent she was facing that night in Holly Holm, who had her by a long shot in length, reach, height, all that stuff, as well as just the ability to strike. I think a big part of her ability to strike, aside from her training history, was the length that she had, advantage that she had on Ronda, where Ronda's strategy really should have been, to look to counter her strikes or catch her strikes, as far as, when you're on defense, and cover your head better. Jeez, Ronda left her head open the whole freaking fight. And there was about 3-4 times in the first round that I thought Holly knocked out Ronda. Just, oh crap, that's it. Oh crap, that's it. One thing I'll give Ronda can take a punch. Ronda, man, the slow motion one that she took to the mouth in the first round, that was brutal. But she kept going. You could tell at the end of the first round, Ronda was beat down. Holly had controlled that entire round, was in control of the fight, could have won in several moments. Now, one thing I'll point out there before we move to the second short round conclusion of the fight, and then my take, is that Ronda did have 2 moments in that first round, the first one especially, but she had 2 moments in that first round where she had Holly in the clinch, on the ground the one time. Thought like, this is textbook. Okay, boom, there she is. She's got the arm, they're on the ground, Ronda's going to armbar, fight's over. Somehow Holly escaped that. Later on, it looked like there was going to be another opportunity for that up against the octagon fence. I want to say Ronda, I don't even remember if Ronda got that one to the ground or not. But Holly escaped again. There was twice where Ronda had her in the clinch. The first time almost perfectly. Somehow Holly escaped. So don't listen to this or remember the fight looking back on it, if you were as lucky as I was to watch it, and think that it was completely one-sided. No, it was convincingly one-sided, but it wasn't completely one-sided. Ronda did have at least one opportunity where the fight was hers. She could have and should have won the match. For whatever reason, she was unsuccessful closing the deal. And it was just one of those fights that you could tell real early on, the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Holly. No, there was one other move that was just a highlight, made the whole place go, whoa! I don't remember if it was first round or second round. I just know that it was late in the fight, because Ronda was pretty beat up when it happened. But Ronda went to strike or charge Holly. Holly got out of the, and Ronda missed, and just like, it was just like this embarrassing freaking deke whiff. Like it was the most brutal crossover ankle breaking, in basketball as you could ever see in the world of UFC mixed martial arts. And then we get to the second round. It was again, I'm sitting there going, okay, Ronda, you're still in this somehow. Like, you gotta stop looking just for your own offense, because Ronda, the whole fight, all she did was look to create her own offense, and she wanted it to be a very specific type of offense, a very, brawling type of offense. And that's just not the case for, that's not the right strategy for what Holly Holm's strengths and weaknesses are. Or at least what her strengths are. I haven't really seen too many of her weaknesses, to be honest with you. But so anyway, the second round did not last long. Ronda's looking out, trying to create offense, flailing punches out of desperation, just looking stupid. Holly catches her with a punch, hits her on the back of the head with a punch, forearm or elbow that did a lot of damage and was an unsung blow. That combo, actually, the head, back of head combo, was, I felt, what really did Ronda in that whole knockout sequence. But then after that, she stumbled, turned to establish her stance, open fighting stance with her fists. When she finally got squared around, Holly Holm was landing a foot to the side of her head, knocking her onto the ground, where she then got on top of her, pretty much lifeless, unresponsive, unprotected body. Hit Ronda in the side of the head. Ronda stayed unprotected, didn't move her hands, respond at all. Then proceeded to deliver 2 more tomahawk blows, on top of head to the face, before the ref finally got off his lazy ass and decided to do his job and save this woman's life, which he should have done 3 seconds ago. He could have called the fight on the kick. The way she fell to the ground, she didn't even protect herself when she fell to the ground. She fell just arms out, face first, boom. Call it on that. Then, when she got up on her, Ronda doesn't go to protect herself. She gets a blow into the side of the head. Ronda doesn't even move her anything, her arms, face, nothing. Ref doesn't step in there yet. Holly's able to get 2 more overhand tomahawk chop type of punches in yet before the ref finally jumps in. Ref stunk doing his job at the end of that match. For the record, I don't care what 2 fighters are involved. That's not a take of mine because they're females. That's not a take of mine because I'm a huge fan of Ronda's and she was on the wrong end of it. Any human beings in that situation, the ref should have jumped in there and ended that fight at least 2 blows, if not 3 blows, sooner than he did. So that was something I had a big problem with. But overall, Holly Holm just whooped Ronda. I mean, absolutely whooped her. It was convincing. It was fairly one-sided, not completely, but fairly. All the statistics support that. The strikes landed, strikes attempted, strike percentage. Just looking at the 2 people after a fight, you could tell which one lost. It was one of those. Holly didn't look like she got hurt at all at any point in the fight. Ronda looked like she got hurt real bad. As a matter of fact, when it was done, Ronda went to the hospital. Not all that uncommon. They cleared her, said she didn't have a concussion or anything like that, which shocked me, and no serious injuries, and she could go. She said she was going to end up with some plastic surgery on her face to repair some of that damage, but other than that, there was, nothing else of concern. However, now, just like today or yesterday, this week sometime, you've got Dana White, UFC, coming out and suspending Ronda Rousey for 6 months due to medical concerns, issues, which is ironic and almost pointless because Ronda was going to be gone until June or July when they open the new MGM in Vegas anyway. Like, she had already announced that she was taking 6 months off, approximately, following this fight, win or lose. That was before the fight took place. Win or lose, she had announced that she was going to be leaving, taking about 6 months worth of time off, give or take. But that she would be back, no matter what. So I don't really see the point in the UFC suspension. I don't know, and it's I don't know, it's interesting. It's interesting. But so anyway, main event ends. Your new undisputed UFC bantamweight champion of the world, Holly Holm. Congratulations, Holly Holm, the new babyface champ of the biggest, most popular division or divisions in UFC right now, in my opinion, which would be the women's, specifically the bantamweight division, and she did the unthinkable. She beat the unbeatable, the superstar Ronda Rousey, the biggest star in UFC, male or female, period. Final thoughts on that fight. Ronda was like a 1,200 point favorite. Holly was like a 700 or 800 point underdog. So there was no. Most Ronda Rousey fights have been either you win small, or you lose small. The way this one played out, you either lost big because you got to put a lot of money on Ronda just to win anything, or you won big because putting anything on Holly Holm paid off quite lucratively. So congratulations to those of you who made money off of that fight out there. I knew I should have, just seeing the numbers, it's like, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's a smart bet. I wish I would have. I wish I could Back to the Future it now, go put just a couple grand down on it, keep it humble. But yeah, and also, my condolences to everyone who lost large chunks of money on the fight as well. But that's what happens sometimes when you gamble. Now, as far as what is next for Holly Holm, no official announcements, I believe. But in my humble opinion, it's not so humble, but in my opinion, I believe that Holly Holm they will focus on making sure she gets, at least 2 matches here in the 6 month period that Ronda's gone, and Holly's the new champ, of getting Holly some people, a couple fights. And ultimately, it's in the hopes of just building, Holly as a star and legitimizing her reign as champion. You can't just have her sitting out 6 months, waiting for Ronda's comeback for the rematch. She needs to be a fighting, defending champion, and she also needs to prove that she's legitly the best in the world, in that weight class, in that gender as well. So that's what to look for Holly Holm. Definitely also expect her to do, she's already done some of the talk show circuits in the morning, like, the Today Show or Good Morning America or whatever the heck, she was on. Expect her to continue to do that. They're going to try to. Dana White is a very smart promoter and businessman, and he knows that is, that's his new. If we were looking at this in wrestling terms, Ronda was the, scary, unbeatable babyface champion that was really more of a heel, but because of how great they were, we cheered them anyway. But they're really a heel, And Holly Holm would be your babyface, your good guy. There ain't really a whole lot to not like about this person, and they're just generally good people, and we want them to do well, and we want to cheer for them. That's kind of Holly's image at the moment, and I think they're going to continue that. I think they're going to look to make her, more known, raise the public awareness on who she is and what she's like, what she's all about. And then, like I said, get her at least 1 or 2 fights where they're feeding people to her, and she's coming out looking really awesome. But so yeah, it was the shocker, possibly the shocker of the sports year. One of the biggest shockers of all time, people are calling it, in the fight world. I really don't think it was that shocking or surprising of an upset. Like, Ronda said it was going to be the toughest fight of her career. Holly had never lost, had all the things on paper that you would think, ingredient-wise, fighter versus fighter, these things counter the others well. On paper, it wasn't that big of a mismatch or a shocker at all to me. I think it was just by name and by fame, that people think it was such a giant upset. A lot of people compared it to Tyson Buster Douglas. Wasn't anything remotely close to Tyson versus Buster Douglas, because Buster Douglas was a nobody when he beat Tyson. He wasn't a 13-time champion and undefeated, an undefeated 13-time champion when he beat Mike Tyson. So, completely wrong